Over the years, Nike and China's homegrown sportswear brand Anta have rolled out a lot of sneakers. And the shoes from the Chinese company have made appearances alongside Nike, not only at the Olympics, but also on NBA courts. In 2021, the companies released their latest signature basketball shoes, which showcase the two brands' flagship midsoles that are designed for pro athletes. So we compare the high-performance technology from both companies to see how Anta's design is one part of its plan to go global and gain ground on the world's biggest sports brand. Nike has nearly 30 years on Anta and was founded by people who love to run, a track and field coach, and a middle distance runner. The company from its early days focused on designing shoes for professional athletes. Anta, on the other hand, was set up in 1991 by a father and his two sons to manufacture shoes for other brands. But after a few years of that, the company decided to focus on creating its own shoes.
我是一个看着安踏从没科技变成有科技。
Zhang Hanwen runs a video channel about basketball shoes on the Chinese equivalent of YouTube. And he spoke to us about Anta's sneakers, which are among the more than 500 pairs he's purchased over the past 5 years.
安踏一直在进步走过来的，这么多年差不多有1000多个专利。
Today, Anta is China's top domestic sportswear brand, selling not just sneakers, but also clothes. And as part of its ambition to go global, the company has acquired a slew of international brands. All this has helped make Anta the world's fourth largest athletic apparel company by market value. So to take on more established brands, Anta's been rolling out signature basketball shoes like Nike every year. Each sneaker is named after an NBA player. LeBron is for LeBron James, who's considered one of the best players in NBA history, winning 4 championships. And this is his 19th pair of shoes with Nike. KT stands for KT7, a 3-time NBA champion with the Golden State Warriors who's famous for his three-point shooting. And this is his 7th edition from his partnership with Anta. Because the sneakers are designed for individual players, the technology inside is different too. There are 3 main parts to the shoe, and this is where one of the most important features sits.
Most of all, what the midsole will do is prevent injuries.
Zach Thomas is a podiatrist based in Pennsylvania. And he told us about the sneakers that he's bought and sliced in half for his YouTube channel.
So a good midsole foam that has a combination of spring back, forgiveness, and a little bit of support and stiffness will just make your foot more efficient. It'll make your foot work as more of one unit instead of a bunch of bag of bones.
And that's especially important when playing basketball because sudden stops can shock the joints. The midsole also gives rebound, which allows players to jump higher. So to make a strong midsole, both Anta and Nike have chosen the same ingredient, nitrogen. But the two companies are using the element differently. Nike is focusing on the inert gas itself. It's pumped into the midsole of the LeBron 19 sneaker, which is made up of 2 air units in the forefoot and rear foot. The Air Max is made from polyurethane and filled with highly pressurized nitrogen that the company says can absorb shocks. The Zoom Air is also a pressurized unit and packed with tensile fibers. Nike says this helps the wearer spring upwards after pushing down on it. And in between these 2 units is a chamber that connects both, so the air flows back and forth.
So when you compress the forefoot down here, that air will shoot back into the heel and vice versa. And what that does is it evens out the shoe. It's almost like ballast on a ship. And so it's going to keep you a little more even, but also it's going to produce a little more rebound in the areas of the shoe where you would need it.
Anta is also looking to create better rebound, but it's using nitrogen to build a different kind of structure. The company calls it nitrogen technology and first introduced it with the 7th edition of the Klay Thompson shoes.
简单来说就是说通过氮气的发泡进行注入到材料里面。
So the midsole is made up of a lot of miniature bubbles of nitrogen that are glued together. The company says when pressure is applied, the bubbles compress then expand, giving the wearer both cushioning and rebound. This makes Anta's midsole very elastic, but because it's not contained in a pod like Nike's Air units, Zhang says the foam can easily lose shape.
所以呢，安踏会决定在这两边加入这样的一个大片的尼龙片，然后用这个尼龙条呢来限制整个的这个形变的同时呢，让它不会超出一个形变的空间。
Zhang and Thomas both agree that the 2 midsoles perform well on courts, and that's because the shoes were specifically designed for professional athletes. But that also means these shoes aren't meant for everyone, and ultimately, it's about making the technology go mainstream and having ordinary people buy and wear them.
Once you develop it for one thing, it's pretty easy to reverse engineer it for another sport. You just have to then figure out where to put it in the shoe.
And doing this well has helped Nike maintain a large slice of the sportswear market. Since the invention of the Air Max in the late 1980s, Nike has plugged it into a wide range of sneakers, from training shoes that cost around $80 to basketball shoes that go for $200. And Nike has developed a fleet of other technologies. For example, a really thick midsole with a carbon fiber plate inside that has helped runners break records. But it's also sparked controversies about whether the technology provides athletes with an unfair advantage. And Nike also has a lightweight thread material that the company says gives wearers a secure fit. Nike doesn't disclose its R&D budget, but investments in these technologies have helped the company's revenue more than double in the past decade. And Anta is taking a similar path. Starting with the KT7, which sells for about $150, the company says it plans to apply the nitrogen midsole to 75% of its footwear products by 2025. And it's also starting to build a stable of other tech, like this material that Anta calls the shock absorption molecule, which the company describes as bulletproof because it can absorb almost 100% of shocks when running and jumping. However, Nike's continued dominance partly depends on succeeding on Anta's home turf. China is the second largest sportswear market after the US and worth more than $50 billion. But the American company is facing challenges there.
我呼吁坚决抵制 H&M 和耐克。
Last year, Chinese consumers took to social media to call for a boycott of Western brands over allegations about forced labor in China's cotton-rich Xinjiang region. Nike said its sales in China fell about 20% in its latest quarter, though it pointed to supply chain disruptions. On the flip side, this boycott has created a swell of nationalism towards homegrown products like Anta, which pledged to continue using cotton from Xinjiang. But this stance has put the company in the crosshairs of President Biden, who signed a bill that could make it illegal to import products made with cotton from the region. Anta declined to comment for this video. Meanwhile, Nike in its latest earnings call said the pipeline of its innovative products continues to create the separation between the company and its competitors. For now, Anta says China is its largest source of revenue, and how soon the company can catch up to Nike on the international stage could rely on more than just tech.
You have to have that foundation of solid technology that works, but a lot of times it's not the tech, it's who's wearing the tech that's going to push it forward.
So besides Klay Thompson, Anta's also been working with other NBA players. But to get noticed by more customers, the Chinese company will need to sign on even more of the bigger names to its roster of athletes and endorsements.